Yeah, we gathered everyone. We're gonna have this gathering every Thursday. If you want to join us every Thursday, you're more than welcome. Each time is gonna be different discussion, open discussion, questions about stuff that are more complicated, the DAO, the tokens, because all week we're talking about the games themselves with Itan. So this every Thursday we can have like overview about everything that we're doing, like we did last Thursday. And if you have more questions, sometimes Orne will join us and answer the questions about tokens and all that complicated stuff. And we also have it in the end. We have some announcement for December, some event that we're going to make. Going to be a lot of fun. Chelsea will talk about it in the end. That's it. So, Oren, you can take it. You can take it from here. Maybe you want to go over the slides again, or have like an open discussion if anyone wants to ask anything from last time, because we didn't have a lot of time.
Yeah, maybe by show of hands, how many people here attended the previous presentations? And maybe according to that, you can use your reaction button to do something like this.
Who joined?
Okay, so maybe if enough people already like attended the previous one, maybe there's questions, maybe there are subjects that people want to go over, open for discussion. Or there's certain points that we know that people are have asked about and we want to discuss, whatever.
So I know for sure there were some questions. Oh, Guilherme, yeah.
Yeah, I have some questions about the partnership about the tokens, and want to know more about the details of how this system works. I want to know how much is going to value a token and how we can use these tokens. And like you guys told us that the tokens that we are going to have make it like we can have certain type of power inside of Totem. Like there's some decisions that the amount of tokens that we have, that we could make some decisions about how Totem is going to direct as a company. And I don't know if these tokens, how is going about the value, like how is going to value inside the platform and out of the platform. Like these tokens, they have some monetary value, because I don't know, my concern is not about the Totem system and the Totem company. Is more about the crypto and NFT market, because this token, because the market is like is constantly deplumbing. Like it's constantly, the coins, over time they become less valuable, and the value of these tokens, they are, I don't know. I would know more about this aspect about the token system.
Yeah. Okay. So you raised many questions. So maybe you made maybe concern of many fields. So maybe I'll just cover more and go a little bit deeper about the tokens, and cover some more ground about it, and then we'll see if there's some questions left. Excuse me. And then maybe I'm able to answer, thank you, some of the questions, or and we'll go deeper. So fundamentally, let's understand what is the meaning of the token. And the simplest analogy is to make it analogous to shares in a company. So in a normal company, there's shares of the company, and some of them are held in the public. So 10% or 60% are held sometimes by the public. It depends on the company and other factors. But the company is made of 100% of the shares. So if the shares that are not held by the company are held by the managers, by the early investors, by the founders and stuff like that. And inherently, shares basically give you, very basically, two to grant you two things. First of all, they grant you an ownership. Shares grant you ownership of the company. But what ownership means? It means basically two things. One thing, it means it allows you to vote, and there are and critical aspects of the company, according to the bylaws of the company, have to be voted on. Now, sometimes the entire investor class, the public, has just 10% of the voting. So they participate in the vote, but they don't have really a significant voice in the vote. But still, every time there's voting for the share owners, everybody, even who have one shares in the company, can participate in this voting. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is a right to receive a dividend from the company. So the company makes a lot of money. First of all, it tries to pay everybody inside the company, and if they have debt and stuff like that. But if eventually there's some money left, they can decide whether they invest it in another project, buying another plant, doing another thing, or give it up to the share owners, and that's called the dividend. And being having ownership of the share means that you have a right for this dividend. There's something very important to talk about, still about shares, is that the value of the shares on the stock exchange doesn't necessarily tied with these aspects. So a stable company will have very the value of the share will be correlated to the dividend. So if you take a share like 3M or Johnson & Johnson or Black & Decker or other kind of dividend stocks, the price is related to the dividend. If you take another stock like Tesla, there's zero correlation because the company never gave a dividend, and it's traded in a value which is much, much, much higher than the entire value of the company. So the value of the share can be related or can be sometimes completely uncorrelated to the earnings and the dividends that the company earns, especially for high-tech companies, especially for startup companies, especially for companies where the future of the company is the value of the company is not now, but in the future, and people are willing to give a lot of money to that. So all of that, everything I said up till now, it's relevant for normal company. Now let's talk about crypto-based companies. And there are many schemes and many aspects, and there's no single model. The model that we follow is, there's some aspects of it which are fundamentally very, very simple and basic on purpose. And the model that we took is that the entire Totem project is based only on tokens. So sometimes you will see investors investing in one company and getting shares and other getting tokens. So sometimes you have some tokens and some shares and stuff like that. In Totem, everybody has the same thing. Everyone who's member of Token have the same thing, which is Totem token. Now, the Totem tokens are, every token is a part of the entire allocation of tokens. All of these tokens are not given yet. Some of them are given to the founders, some of them are given to the early investors, and some of them will be given to game developers or players or stuff like that. And some part of it will be sold on the market when we will issue them. So if we're making the analogy to normal shares in company, we said that they allow two things. So one of them is voting and the other one is dividends. So in terms of voting, Totem as a decentralized autonomous organization is wants to be heavily dependent on these public votes. And not every aspect can be voted on. We cannot decide whether on Tuesday we're doing a game night or Wednesday game night, and it will be a governance decision by everybody. Someone will have to decide about stuff like that. But the major decisions about the organization will be made by a vote. And the crypto world has a very good and advanced tools to say whoever holds these tokens can have a vote. And there are websites and tools that allows these things to happen. And basically, when you have your wallet or you have your private keys or you have this identity and you know and everybody knows that you have 100,000 tokens and you make a vote, that vote it carries the weight of 100,000 tokens, which means it's 10 times stronger than the vote of someone who have only 10,000, and it's 10 times weaker than someone who have 1 million tokens. So the tokens do provide voting on significant aspects, and I can give some examples of what I mean by significant aspects of the company, of the DAO actually. The other part of it is that let's talk about the other thing. The other thing is receiving dividends in a normal company. So if you want to give dividends in a company, that means that legally speaking, according to all kinds of legal frameworks around the world, your token is considered a security. For example, one of the more relevant frameworks, legal frameworks in the world is the American framework. And according to the American framework, the SEC, the Security Exchange Committee, define what is a stock. And if you sell a stock to an American, you have to be filtered and checked by the SEC. And the American framework is not important because American is the most important country in the world or something like that. The American framework is important because the American framework, the Americans are very aggressive in implying their laws about the rest of the world. So sometimes they can do crazy stuff like send the helicopters down to some island and pick up someone that they think didn't meet their standards or something like that. So they have rules and regulations that basically imply about all of the world. That's one. And two, they're really pursuing this sometimes. So everybody are looking at what the Americans are doing. And right now, the Americans define any body that gives some of the profits in a way that looks like a dividend, basically, is a security. And because Totem doesn't want to be part of the American system and or other frameworks, there is a very strong decision that Totem doesn't give dividends. So basically, 100% of the income stays inside the company. What we're doing with that, based on our decision, roughly right now, roughly 70% goes to game development, 30% goes to platform development, etc. And so basically, that's the reason that and you'll hear it in other DAO projects, we call it governance tokens, to emphasize the point that the tokens only allows you to make decisions and vote on those decisions, but not to get the dividends. Basically, the idea is that Totem as a DAO receive money from players, they buying assets, all the money goes to the pool, and then the pool we divide into the people who create the games, more to the people who created better games, less to the people who create maybe lesser interesting games, etc., etc. So the takeaway from what I said is that, so just to summarize, so tokens are the way that describe the whole ownership of this DAO. The tokens allow you to vote on important decisions about the DAOs and its direction, and doesn't imply receiving a dividend. Now, it's obvious for many people in the field that potentially in few years, like everything in regulatory in crypto, first of all, the crypto worlds come up with amazing new innovations, and then the regulators, after a few years of thinking about it, decide how to regulate it. Okay, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, how to do it, etc. And it's clear, or at least hopeful, that in few years maybe the situation will change. Maybe it will be okay to go to the route that gives dividend. By the way, there is a framework for tokens which are securities in Europe, and there are already projects that use this regulated platform on Europe, and theoretically next year we can use them, and then it will be different. I want to give few examples, and if there's more questions about it, I'll be happy to give more. Few examples of what the DAO decisions are relevant for everybody, and hopefully everybody will vote on them together. So a few examples right off. So we all know that there's assets that players can purchase to participate in every game. So I buy one asset and then I can play in today 10 or 20 or 30 games, next year 300 games, and I hope in 2 years 3,000 games with one asset that I bought. How much should this asset cost? So I'm always using $10, but I don't really know what is the price for this asset. Let's say that when we start, we decided that it's $50 per asset because it gives you access to so many games. Maybe we say it's $50, but we decide that for the first year, it will be sold only with 80% discount or whatever. The cost, the price of a single asset is something which is fundamental to the entire DAO. And that's a decision that have to be taken by DAO voting. It's a very delicate decision. It's a very important decision. And because of that, it's not a decision that I want to take. And I think I have many thoughts about it. And I'm sure Idan has a lot of thoughts about it. And I hope that we can share them with everybody. But eventually we'll have to make some votes and decide what is the price. And after we decided that the price is $34, maybe 2 years later, someone decided, hey, let's change it. It has to go down. It has to go up. So this is a fundamental thing for the DAO. Other fundamental things. Right now, the DAO is managed by a guy called Oren from Israel. That's me. Nice. I already put in the draft of the constitution that any role like that, because I'm working full-time on this and I'm getting salary, and I have all the nice ideas and stuff like that, but it's limited. After some years, there have to be a vote to either reinstate me at the same position or bring someone else. Maybe Vova is the best manager for this project, and I'm thinking I'm the best, but everybody vote, and they can vote that someone will replace me. So that's another example of a government decision. And in the website, I put a very, very early draft of the constitution. By the way, I just mentioned that one of the people who helps us is a professor of philosophy and is also experienced with governance and stuff like that, and he will help us to write a constitution. But you will see in the constitution that some of the rules of the DAOs are very hard to change. We need a very big vote to change them. They're like our constitution. For example, Totem is an organization that create ways for game developers to make money. That's very fundamental. If 80% will say no, from now on we're just an organization to sell eggs, or I don't, whatever, that's what we'll do. But it's very hard to make this change and make this decision. Another decision is that, for example, in the beginning, 70% of the funding that we give for the community. 70% is for game developers and 30% is for the platform. But maybe in 3-4 years, the platform is so robust and there's not a lot of need to fund it. Maybe 95% will go to game developers and only 5% will go to platform development. So deciding on this distribution is a normal DAO vote. And there's some decisions that have to be taken daily, and not everybody have to vote about them. For example, everybody decided there's now $1 million budget for Brazil to help them make games. Well, exactly what to do with this budget, I don't know. But very important aspect of the DAO is to understand that this DAO is made of a lot of people in a lot of places, and it has to have a life of its own. Meaning, for example, that you can create a group that calls itself Totem Brazil. You don't need permission from anyone in Totem to call yourself Totem Brazil. If you get all the Brazilians, or at least many of them, to support you, that's it. Now you're Totem Brazil. You can announce it, you can create your own website, and now you're Totem Brazil. Now you can say, okay, we're Totem Brazil, we're already 80 people, we did these games, and we're very cool. Please, we want from the DAO to get a budget of $100,000 because it will help us to do, okay, you can make this suggestion, and the DAO can decide whether you get it or no. Today, this decision will be probably done by, I don't know, probably Idan and Guilherme, and maybe in the future it will be a DAO decision. But this is the way that the DAO is progressing based on suggestions and votings of all of the people who make this. And a very strong parameter that I mentioned before, but I don't think I mentioned today, maybe I did, I'm sorry if I did, is that our vision is that at least 50% of the tokens will be of the community, meaning game developers, maybe players, people who believe in the project, but at least 50% will be in their hands. Not today, it will take time, maybe 3 years, maybe 4 years. We have beginning of plans on how to distribute it, but this is part of the reason that we already granting tokens to give everybody. So I think that was an overview of about what's its token. And the second part of your question was, what is the value of the token? So the value of the token is like the value of this apartment. There's no value for this apartment. There is a value to this apartment only when someone who owns it, this apartment, sells it. And when he sells it, this apartment, that's the value. So that's in the world of tokens, when the token is traded, like the stock of Apple, what is the price of what is the value of Tesla stock? The answer is how much the stock is currently traded. And with Tesla, it's easy. You can always go to the stock exchange and look how much it's traded. Every day it's a different price, but that's the price of a Tesla stock. And when we will issue the tokens and they will be traded publicly, there will be all the time, 24/7, there will be a value for the token. And until it will be public, it will be very hard to say what is the value. But there is some indications about the value. So for example, one thing I can tell you, and we're a very transparent organization, so I have no problem to tell you, I can tell you that, look, the people who got tokens in return for investing in Totem, and as you all know, there's more than $1.5 million invested in tokens, they gave money. The only thing they got in return is tokens. They didn't get shares, they didn't have board seats, they didn't get anything. They only got tokens, and they paid 2.5 cents per each tokens that they got. That's it, that's the price. I can tell you more than that. I can tell you that right now we're in the process of beginning an investment round, meaning we now have to work few weeks, long weeks, to bring more money into the company. I don't know if it will be another million. I don't know, maybe it will be another 10 million. But the price that we are talking now is already bigger than 2.5%. Now we're talking, maybe it will be 5%, maybe it will be 10%, but it's a private sale. It's still not public, so we really don't know. And the last comment about this thing is that when I'm talking about the tokens we gave you or the tokens you have, of course you don't have, you only have a promise. So we promise you that we'll give you 10,000 tokens. It's just a promise for tokens. That's the bad news. The good news is that people who gave us $1.5 million got exactly the same. They got a promise for tokens. And in the crypto or in the investment world, it's called a SAFT, a simple agreement for tokens. And in the agreement, they say, you get the tokens, when we'll do them, if we'll do them, and the time we'll do them, all you get is practice, and almost FU is almost written. It's just in a more legal way. But when we say we promise you tokens, we promise, we keep the tables, we keep everything, just as we keep it for the investors, for our contributors. And the contributors, every one of them got the amount of tokens based on a promise for tokens based on a price of 2.5 cents. So that answers the kind of the value question. And the last thing that you mentioned was a concern about something. Oh, the concern about the movement of the price. And that ties into your first question, which was what we do with these tokens. Many projects, I will say more than 95% of the project that have a token, try to find some utility and insert the token into the project. And especially in the world of NFTs and gaming and all this terrible thing that's called play to earn that I really don't want to talk about. The scheme was that we have a token that everybody wants and we need it to play the game. What happens if you look at the economy of this, you see that as the game become more popular, and Axie Infinity, for those who knows this name, fine, those who don't know, maybe better, but this was the first major game that used this and got very public. The price of the tokens, it was so successful for all the wrong reasons, but it was so successful that the price of the token went up and people were very excited and bought the token and the token went up. I wanted to play this game, and to play this game, I needed three NFTs, and the 3 NFTs cost $300. And it was obvious that I will not try to play this game for $300. I'm not rich enough to pay $300. Yes, Cactus, hi Cactus, $300 to play a game. And of course, because the project as it became more successful, so to speak, it was harder to play the game. And of course, all of this NFT scheme collapsed, and now it's back to a few dollars or cents, or I don't know how much. In Totem, since day one, the scheme was that we use assets. The assets cost X amount of dollars, let's say $10 or $34 or whatever we decide, and that's it. And if there are 100,000 people buying assets and playing the games, good, more money goes into our pool and divided by the players. If million people want to buy assets, it's exactly the same price. It doesn't cost more just because it's popular. Maybe we want to give a discount. I don't know. It's our shared decision. So it's very important to know that unlike sadly, most projects that you will see out there in the wild, the token is only for the governance of the project, but everything that goes to the mechanics of playing and stuff like that uses dollars, just as we believe that players don't have to know crypto and game developers don't have to know about crypto and tokens and stuff like that to create a game and to decide they want to get $5 per asset, $10 or whatever it is. Okay, I talked a lot. I covered a lot of stuff. I hope I covered some of your questions, but if I left anything open or there's other questions, please feel free.
Everybody is shocked.
I'm sorry. When I'm starting to talk about stuff I like, I can continue. Like I only talked for half an hour. I stopped myself very early.
We have it recorded. I think everybody should watch it again after.
Yeah, and when I listen to recorded stuff like podcasts and stuff like that, I hear it in a very high speed. So I'm maybe trying to speak more slowly, but my normal speed is maybe very high. So feel free to stop me, ask me to repeat something if anything interests you or some point wasn't clear. I
will add my 2 cents. Actually, what Oren explains is something what I and my team and actually other teams who work on the core of the technical part of Totem.
Vova,
we are trying to implement.
Vova, just before you continue, let me introduce you. This is Vova, who's managing most of the efforts on creating the platform. And when he talks about his team, he's actually talking about the team that received most of the grants to create the platform. So now everybody knows you. I'm sorry, Vova, go ahead.
Okay, so we are trying to develop everything in a such way that the system would be decentralized as much as possible. So that if, for example, some team work on the core, later it can be replaced by other players, actually by other developers. And we try to make only simple API controlled by the foundation. Something like smart contracts will be deployed by the foundation, and everything which works with these smart contracts on the blockchain, this will be open source. So if you want to extend the functionality, or you want to use the system, or you want to be I don't know, authorized web explorer of the NFTs that we are working on, or you want to mint the NFTs, or you want to be the payment processor or payment gateway, or any other logic that is related to the system that we are developing, you can be a part of it, because everything is open source, everything is decentralized. We are not holding any user information, and this works actually out of our control. And the idea of this DAO is that everybody who wants to be a part of the community and develop the system and drive it can be the part of community. And actually, the idea is that at some point, community will decide and make the efforts of how the system evolves.
Yeah, it's very true. I know. I just had read in the chat, which is a wonderful example. We still haven't issued the tokens, and we didn't publicize them, and we're still a few quarters from doing this. But if you have a good idea for a name for the token, just decide what it is. You know, there's a good chance that we will, you know, adhere to what you're saying. And there's a lot of aspect of, you know, there's not really, you don't need a lot of permission from us. You can do whatever you want. I have a t-shirt with our emblem, but anyone can get from Idan and from all of us all the graphic, create his own shirt, and that's it. And maybe ask for us for a payment later. Of course, right now we try to reach people all around the world, for example, in Brazil or Ukraine, and help doing this. But you know, you can. And by the way, one day Idan told me that the storytellers have to be frogs. Why? Something within the developers. They like frogs. Okay, fine. But if all the storytellers, for as an example, would say from now on we want to be snakes, you will be snakes. There's nothing about this community that has to be controlled. Of course, running an organization and stuff like that requires the beginning of a very centralized community that decides what's going on. But later on, it can be, when things are set, it's very easy to open it to influences of everybody. For a great example is game grants, right? In the end, there will only be game grants because the money that will come from players will go to people to create a game and sustain them. But right now we're giving grants. And right now, you know, Idan and Guilherme, and you know that they are helping you to get the grant, will help you to understand what it's Totem, etc. For me, the next phase, which is more, the last phase is that we don't need to give grant. But in between, there's a phase that there is maybe a community decision on who gets grants, who doesn't get grants, who gets a bonus, who doesn't get a bonus. And we decided by a community that all of us, not all of us, those who are interested are part of it. So I don't have to decide which is a good game. I prefer that the game developers of you will decide who's a good game. I prefer that the builders will decide what is a good quality plugin that should get a thumbs up and maybe investment in creating a plugin for Godot or creating a Unity or a Unreal plugin and stuff like that. If you want to create an Unreal plugin, go do it today. I will not let you know. More than that, if you create an Unreal plugin, there's a good chance we'll probably pay you for your work after that as a bonus. And probably if you talk with us before, we will help you do it and maybe fund you before. But all of this, and there's tons of these aspects that are really aspects that the community can take and harness and do by itself.
Yes.
I have.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry. No, go ahead.
I mean, at some point, if community decides to replace us or get rid of all of us, there will be such way to do this because of governance tokens, because community will decide how it evolves, how who will be the drivers of the community, who will drive the foundation actually.
Yep.
So everything will be done in a such way that people who are interested in development of all of these will decide how community proceeds. So yes.
Itamar.
I have two technical questions. One is very short, so I will start with it. It's about something you said. I just, in the end of your talk, I didn't have it clear if the idea is to have assets be a requirement to play the games, or is it not?
Assets. Look, the asset is not a requirement to play the game because, first of all, you're talking about the requirement from the players. We don't deal with the players, you deal with them. So if you create a game that doesn't need the assets, then do it. You know, we even thought about having a mode in the plugin that allows a user without assets to play, and you can decide in your game how to do it. Of course, we encourage you, and I think the value is that if the game encourages people to get an asset, because this is the money that basically eventually is transferred back to the game developers. So I would believe that naturally game developers, even if they give a taste without the assets, will give the full thing to people who purchase the asset. That answers the question?
Yeah. And the second question is a bit more intricate, is about something you said at the end. You want players to not have to deal or even understand how the NFTs work.
Right.
But I recognize here a very dangerous pitfall, because one of the main aspects of NFT assets is that they can increase or decrease in value, and you could generate an asset that then someone really, really wants. And if you do not understand anything about NFTs, you might not be using correctly a wallet, and you are then very vulnerable to any sort of attacks that just like any malicious activity to steal your tokens becomes a very relevant danger if you do not know anything about NFTs. So I wanted to ask if you have a specific way to deal with it in mind.
Yeah, so I'll start with a comment about the end tail of your question, and then I'll go to the beginning. NFT technology, like any crypto technology, at least in the core of it, is secure a little bit better than your bank account. You cannot steal NFT. There's no such thing as to steal an NFT. Just as it's harder to steal an NFT than for me to steal the money from your bank account. Now, if you hold NFTs in some website and the website was hacked and stuff like that, the website can be hacked. But NFT fundamentally are a technology that allows you to have ownership of your NFT. And because we use real NFTs and not some made up or something like that, if you have a wallet, then your NFT is yours, and there was not a single case in history of someone being able to steal NFT. He can make you tell you, look, I'm the boss of Totem, please send me your NFT, and you do it, and haha, I'm not, or something like that. But fundamentally, it's not, there's no technical possibility to steal an NFT, just there's like no way to steal Bitcoin. That's first of all.
Let me just stop you for a moment. I'm not talking about someone cracking the key. I'm talking about you using your private key in an unsecure manner and then someone stealing your private key.
Absolutely. Okay, so absolutely. I just want to make this point clear. Now we're going to private keys and stuff like that. So our fundamental belief is that we have to allow anybody to use this technology, which and not everybody know what is a private key. I don't know if everybody around this talk knows what is a private key. So we looked for a technology, and we use a technology that allows you to identify yourself with your Twitter account, with your Twitter handle, with your Gmail handle, or any social media, basically social identity. And then through some magic that I'll talk about it in a second, that magic holds your private keys. And you can see this magic happening today if you go to totemexplorer.com, which is a website that looks at the blockchain and developed by Vova and his team. You can see the assets. And if you log in there with your user, I don't think it's ready for prime time, but you can already, I think, play with it. You can purchase with Monopol money right now. You can purchase an asset, and that asset is yours. And the way that it works is your private keys and all of that is handled somewhere else, which is important to say exactly how it works, but still in a second. So the idea is that when you purchase that in the website and you purchase the asset, and then you go to Redstone Keep and you log in with the same login, you will have your assets in the game. So that's our trick to making sure that normal users only deal with their own account and not with private keys and stuff like that, because as you can say, they can have a mistake and that can be stolen. The interesting stuff, if you want to go one layer deeper, is that, okay, if someone else holds the private keys, then that's the vector of attack. So if there's a website that keeps everybody private keys, the website can be hacked and the asset can be stolen. And because of that, we don't do that. What we use is, it's a bit technical. I don't know how technical you are. Maybe you are, but maybe not all the people here. But I'll just mention in a sentence that we use a non-custody solution which is standard Web3 third-party solution, which creates the private keys and hold them sort of in the void. We don't hold the keys. You don't have your client doesn't hold the keys. It's basically the private keys is broken between you and some other system and us, so no one has the actual private keys. So nobody holds the keys, so the keys cannot be really stolen in any way. And there's no one centralized entity that holds the keys. So that's what saves. That's the technology we use to ensure that nobody can steal your private keys. The important one thing to complete this is that if you know crypto and you have a wallet and you know how to use this, and we will give you, I'm not sure it's already available on the website, but it's a requirement from any website like that will have access to your, or ability to access to your NFTs, you will be able to send them to your private hardware wallet or software wallet or hot wallet or whatever, and keep the NFTs over there. That makes sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm just wondering, but doesn't that mean that now my vulnerable point is the login I used? So for example, if I used my Twitter handle, so now
absolutely, you are absolutely right. If someone hacks your Gmail account and that's what you use to secure your assets, then all your assets can be stolen. Just like if anyone hacks your Steam account, you can steal all your Steam-based achievement cards, assets, and stuff like that.
Yeah, but generally speaking, I would hold about $5 of assets on Steam. So I'm not very worried about that.
No, that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true.
That's the asset, but what about the games?
You can't steal games from Steam.
But if I overtook your account, then now I have access to all of the stuff in your account, no?
Yeah, but the idea is, okay, let's say I log into Totem through my Gmail account, and then you hack into my Gmail account. You can then you can clear out my account, transfer everything to another account, and if I then approach Totem and say, hey, this is really me, I was hacked, you give me back my account, but the assets are gone. In Steam,
Absolutely.
If I get hacked, I go to Steam and I say I was hacked, this is me, and I get back all of my games because they are non-transferable.
Absolutely.
By the way, we are using the login solution, which still allows you to log in to the Totem using third-party wallet software like MetaMask. And in this case, our websites or any other clients don't have direct access to your keys at all. So the holding of your keys and confirmation of all transactions that you make, they will be on the wallet side. So if you're more technical, there is still a way to use more secure solution.
Exactly. And you can secure your Gmail account and stuff like that. But one thing that you mentioned, I want to touch on, and that's the NFT's value can go up. So first of all, unlike all of those monkeys you read about, or hopefully you didn't invest in, it's not the same market. Look, monkeys, you have 1,000 monkeys or whatever, and if somebody is doing a good job in marketing them, everybody wants the monkeys. So everybody wants the monkeys, but there's only 1,000 monkeys, so the price goes up. Of course, after a while, the price goes down, and you can see it happening in almost any NFT project that uses this scarcity mechanism. Totem doesn't have scarcity. Totem can create 1 gazillion assets. It's a very simple mechanism. You put in the set amount that we decide on, $10, $43, or whatever, you get an asset. So first of all, we're not using the scarcity model. We're using another model, which is called rarity model. We didn't go into details so much about it because there's a lot of things to understand now. But to explain what is the rarity model is that all of the assets are random, but they're not random in the same way. So they are random in the same way, but the result can be that some assets can be very unique. And the uniqueness of the assets comes from its properties and from its use in specific game. So for example, you can create a game, and in your game, 1 in every 1,000 assets are the best sword of whatever in your game, and you can control that. And then once your game becomes the best-selling game on Totem and everybody wants to play this game, If I accidentally bought a $10 asset and by accident it's one of these 1 per 1,000 swords that is great in your game, maybe I want to sell it. Maybe someone will buy it from me for $500, maybe for $10,000. Still, I only purchased it for $10. So it's true. The value of my asset can go up in price, maybe because someone wants it, and there's mechanism about that. And maybe someone already bought it for $1,000. But initially, it cost exactly the same. And for me, I really hope that in the next 24 months, we'll have assets that are so expensive that our games that you make, the games that you guys are doing are so great and there's so much demand for them that a rare asset in one of your games will reach $1,000. That would be amazing for all of us, because that means that we have a community of people who really believe the project, who really want this asset to play in different games, even if it's rare and stuff like that. I really hope that we'll, and I don't see any reason to see any asset reaches $100,000. There's no need for that. That's not what we do. We don't selling bullshit monkeys things. We're selling experience for games that people can come, enjoy, play, etc.
We need to mention that you're purchasing the asset from Totem and you're purchasing the random asset from Totem. And since it's random, and every game has its own rules for interpreting this random data, then in some games, specific item, specific asset may be very powerful. In other games, it can be like garbage, because different games treat the same binary data in different ways. So you're purchasing the asset for small amount of money, but for specific game, it may be very unique, the best item in the game world. So that's the idea. That's the idea of why we are selling these assets for players for small amount, so that everybody could participate and potentially he can get the powerful I don't know, avatar or sword or something. And you asked also about, do we force game developers to use our assets? No, we don't force, but you should think about these Totem assets as an additional way to monetize your game, because all earnings that Totem Foundation gets when it is selling the assets, they will be distributed between the game developers. Actually, in specific rules, some part of the earnings will go to the core team, some part will go to the game developers, but the percentage...
Not to the core team, to the platform?
To the platform, yes, to the platform, some to the game developers, but percentage of how these earnings are splitted will be later determined by voting in the community.
Guys, we don't have much time, and there's a question by McKinley. He's been waiting patiently for a long time. So McKinley, please ask your question.
Yeah, it's more about earlier the discussion when he asked about the part where we don't have, where the games, we don't have to make our games totally dependent, right? About by using the totem system in order to work. I think I was just gonna add up that it's cool that when you actually, I think it's also cool that you actually make your game kind of like using the system of Totem, but like also not being totally dependent, making the game not totally dependent onto the asset. Like, for example, in our game, we can still play it. You can still play the stage, but the totem is there. And when he doesn't detect that you have an avatar on it or you didn't log in, it doesn't happen. The things about Totem there, the system that Totem uses or affects the gameplay doesn't happen. So yeah, I guess it's cool that you can actually do that to your games, like make your game standalone. You can make your standalone game like you always would, even without thinking about the Totem plugin, but the plugin can still coexist there with your in the middle of the gameplay. You just have to like check and make your yeah, do your interpretations and check if like the assets are exist access, you know, if there's like, if they're not null or something. If it is, you don't run the totem system. I think that's a cool thing to point out for other games there.
Yes, and it comes from the fact that it's an open platform. So in reality, you don't even need our plugin. You can write your own plugin, or you can write a game which is a text game in Python or whatever that doesn't use the plugin, but uses our API or just looks at the blockchain to get all the information. So in reality, we cannot really force you to do anything. We can invite you. We can try to create the best tool, the best, most convenient tool for you to use, and hope that you would use it. But if you create your own tools, fine. You know, it's an open platform. It's just like HTTP and HTML and all of that. I cannot tell you what website to create. You're free to do whatever you want. There's no censorship. There's a lot of things that are a bit scary, but we're doing it because we believe that the power lies there in making it open.
Also, look, we still have this legacy system. Legacy system is a way to enrich the experience, the gaming experience for your players, because when you do something in your game and you collaborate with other developers, then in their game, any activity done by the avatar, for example, or specific item in your game, this can affect the scenario or gameplay or mechanics in other games. So the users, for example, or actually avatars or items which you used in different games may be more valuable for players, because if they own this avatar and play some games using this avatar, the story of the game may be different. Or maybe you could explain this better, like what could affect. And
yeah, I think this is something that we're discussing a lot, specifically with the people here. From what I'm seeing, lots of the current participants in the meeting have already played around and used and implemented these systems, but it's worth to bring it again. You can of course go to our website and read more about it. I see that Chelsea is raising a hand.
I got promised that I can talk.
30 seconds. I don't mind staying a few minutes more if anyone wants to say more. Go ahead.
I get promised that I'm allowed to talk about my community stuff too.
Please.
Yeah, we have an announcement.
So you're done with the tokens?
We're done with the serious stuff.
We have actually two announcements. Oren, do you want to answer the question first, that we stay on topic?
What question?
I was just thinking it would be great if we could store more than an int as legacy. Is there any expectation on evolving it?
I'll try to answer it quickly. The system that is currently holding legacy events in a centralized server is going to move to the blockchain and be replaced with a JSON format. So you'll be able to hold more robust information as legacy events. Yes.
That's a very loaded subject, and there's a lot of questions about it. And I'll be very happy to discuss this with Vova and the community together and reach some agreements about that. But yeah, it will be much more robust than this.
Yeah. So Chelsea, yes, we can go to
the first announcement, what was already discussed here, our Totem Explorer. Please join us on Tuesday at 5 UTC. We will also still announce it. And we have a big reveal for our new website and platform, thanks to our amazing team, the Totem Explorer. The second thing I would like to announce is actually our Secret Santa. So today we will post a document, and if you would like to participate, please fill out the short document. It will be just a few questions about you. And on the 6th of December, every participant will get the name of another participant to draw the name. And then you can make a gift for that person. You will get a short description so you can make it personal. It is anything digital and self-made. So you can make an animated background, a profile picture, video, drawing, music, whatever you like. On the 15th of December, you will send me the gift. Yeah, I like gifts. No. And on the 22nd of December, we will have a big Christmas community meeting with the Secret Santa. So every person will get the gift, and together with the community, you can decide and find out who that gift is from. Everything will be still announced in the channel because some things are not that clear at the beginning when you explain it. But I really hope that you will join us in our Secret Santa.
Cool.
Yay.
Woohoo! So the first Totem Secret Santa event is
Ever.
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 It will forever be the first event. So join us. It's going to be really cool, and you may get a chance to get some cool digital presents from some very talented people that we have here in the community.
What about non-talented people? They can participate as well? It's okay?
Yeah.
Everyone have a talent. You can
Yeah.
may not know it, but
You should hear me sing, then you'll know.
Okay.
No, everybody has a talent.
This may be actually the best present ever.
Yeah.
If you want to share like a song, this is going to be a rare collectible sometime in the future. I'm
going,
sure of that.
Maybe I'll send you a song in the dance. Then I'll break the internet.
Yes, please. For this, I would even make a bot just that I can participate.
So
Okay.
Chelsea, you're gonna send on the campfire on the announcement the link for everyone.
Yeah, I'll send the description, announcement, links, everything.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you, everybody. Have a
Thank
great rest of
you.
your day or night or morning, wherever you are. And see you around.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Bye-bye.